Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Gordon Choi. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Police are to cordon off several roads on Hong Kong Island and ban drones for the handover anniversary. Health officials suspect a cross-transmission COVID link between two restaurants. And the bodies of 46 people believed to be migrants have been found inside a tractor trailer in the U.S. state of Texas. Drones will be banned temporarily across Hong Kong amid growing signs that President Xi Jinping will be in the city in person to officiate at ceremonies to mark the handover anniversary and the inauguration of the incoming government. Several roads on Hong Kong Island will be sealed off. Isaac Lee reports.
There are more signs that President Xi Jinping will be in Hong Kong in person to attend celebrations to mark the 25th anniversary of the handover. This comes as police said a number of main roads in northern Wan Chai, including Expo Drive, Convention Venue, and Long Wall Road will be sealed off from 2 a.m. tomorrow. 30 bus routes will be affected. The East Rail Line's Exhibition Centre station will be closed from early on Thursday to Friday afternoon. Drones will be temporarily banned across the city during Xi's visit.
We make reference to the overseas and the mainland where the president's state leader will participate in the program and the reference of the size of the restricted flying zones for the drones. We also make reference to the technology advancement of the drones nowadays. And also we make reference to our latest intelligence.
3 days before the handover anniversary, police are beefing up security in Wan Chai. Security zones will be set up near the Convention and Exhibition Centre, but police said their locations will be adjusted according to President Xi's itinerary. The League of Social Democrats announced that it will not organize any protests on Friday, after some of its volunteers were asked to meet National Security Police. The officers refused to disclose what was discussed, but said there will be zones for public activities outside the venue which Xi will visit. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
Email addresses of over 400 people invited to attend the handover anniversary celebrations have been accidentally leaked. Staff at the Celebrations Coordination Office forgot to use the blind carbon copy function while sending out the invitations on Sunday. The Privacy Commissioner was informed of the incident, while the Home Affairs Bureau reminded its staff to prevent human errors in the future. The government apologized for the incident. Hong Kong's daily COVID caseload has dropped but still remains above 1,600 for the sixth day. Health officials, meanwhile, suspect a cross-district transmission of the virus between two restaurants. Joanna Ho reports.
Hong Kong added 1,685 new COVID infections today, 152 of which were imported. There are another 28 suspected cases of the BA.2.12.1 Omicron subvariant, including 9 patients linked to the cluster centered on the Victoria Harbour restaurant in Tuen Mun. One of them is a patron at the restaurant, taking the tally of infected diners to 42. Health officials identified 4 infections at the Jade Garden restaurant in Mong Kok's Moco Mall. The restaurant was issued with a compulsory testing notice earlier after it was visited by a patron of the Victoria Harbour restaurant on June 19th. Principal Medical and Health Officer Albert Au said 3 diners and a waiter from the Mong Kok restaurant could be secondary infections resulting from the cluster at the Victoria Harbour restaurant. When asked why the Tuen Mun restaurant reopened today, although its ventilation was said to be below standard yesterday, Al said there would be follow-up inspections.
We have liaised with the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department to follow up the situation. We have informed the FEHD to carry out inspection on the ventilation and also this restaurant to see if there is any irregularities.
Meanwhile, there are another 16 cases of the BA.4 or BA.5 Omicron subvariant, 4 of which were local infections. There is speculation that the government is considering cutting hotel quarantine for arrivals to 5 days, followed by 2 days of home isolation. But Ao said the center has not received any information. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
2 men have pleaded not guilty to manslaughter in the death of a cleaner who was hit by a brick during the 2019 social unrest. Kelvin Lau and Chen Yin-ting were driven to the High Court where Chen's mother testified. She said her son, who suffered from an anxiety disorder, was not allowed to take his medication during questioning after his arrest. She said his arms and legs trembled during the 2-hour session. Chen and Lau were among 20 people protesting in Shengshui when a brick was thrown at Luo Changqing during an altercation. The pair originally faced a murder charge, but Judge Esther To asked the prosecution to amend the charge because of insufficient evidence. Officials are working on measures to combat fake news and misinformation in the city. Security Secretary Chris Tang stressed the need to establish clear definitions for disinformation. Joanna Ho reports.
Security Chief Chris Tang told the Singtao Daily that the authorities are looking at how to stop the spread of fake news and misinformation. Tang said a spate of fake news in 2019 incited hatred against the government. He said the authorities are studying whether legislation or administrative means would have a better regulatory effect and stressed the importance of having clear definitions for fake news and misinformation. The Security Secretary cited some examples of what could be seen as violations. These include spreading information which even the disseminator doesn't believe to be true and publishing news without fact-checking with the aim of harming other people and society. He criticized those who argue that imposing regulations would harm press freedom, saying they are creating divisions and conflicts in the community. Tang pledged to protect press freedom, but stressed the need to monitor those who abuse it to harm the city and national security. He was asked whether the government would relax restrictions on searching public records so that journalists could avoid giving false information in their reports. Tang replied that the tight restrictions now in place can combat doxing and safeguard personal data. He suggested setting up a credible organization to identify professional journalists and formulate basic ethical standards for the industry. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Overseas, dozens of bodies have been found inside a tractor trailer that was abandoned in this U.S. state of Texas. Police put the death toll at 46, with another 16 people rescued barely alive in one of the worst cases of human smuggling. Winna Wong reports.
Police in San Antonio received the shock of their lives at the sight of stacks of bodies inside a tractor trailer. 16 survivors, including 4 children, were taken to hospital for treatment. The gruesome discovery came as the temperature in San Antonio hit 39.4 degrees Celsius with high humidity.
The patients that we saw were hot to the touch. They were suffering from heat stroke, heat exhaustion. No signs of water in the vehicle. It was a refrigerated tractor trailer, but there was no visible working AC unit on that rig.
A city worker heard a cry for help and alerted police. Officers found a body lying on the ground next to the partially opened trailer. Another 45 bodies were discovered inside. It's believed that the victims were being smuggled from Mexico to the United States.
So the plight of migrants seeking refuge is always a humanitarian crisis, but tonight we are dealing with a horrific human tragedy. We hope that those responsible for putting these people in such humane conditions are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
3 people were arrested. It was not the first migrant tragedy in San Antonio, 250 kilometers from the Mexican border. 5 years ago, 10 people died after being trapped inside a truck parked in the stifling heat. According to the United Nations, 650 migrants died last year while trying to cross from Mexico into the U.S. Winna Wong, HKIBC.
A deadly gas leak in Jordan has killed at least 13 people and sent 250 to hospital. A video showed the moment disaster struck in the port of Aqaba. A crane loading chlorine tanks onto a ship dropped one of them, sending yellow plumes of gas into the air. Residents living nearby were ordered to shut their windows and doors. Dock workers who were sent for treatment reported feeling suffocated by the gas. The Hang Seng Index has risen for the fourth consecutive session as mainland shares climbed to their highest levels in 4 months. Hong Kong's benchmark edged up 0.9%. Stocks rallied on both sides of the border as the mainland cutting hotel quarantine for arrivals by half to 7 days. Travel concept shares on the mainland surged, with Trip.com Group gaining over 16%. Air China rose over 10%, hitting a one-year high. In Hong Kong, casino stocks rose with Sands China and Wynn Macau both rising over 10%. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng ended the day up 189 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent is down $12.40. Meituan is up $2.60. The tracker fund is up 14 cents and AIA is up $1.90. To the foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar, euro is at 8.28, British pound sterling at 9.59, and Australian dollars at 5.45. Over in Europe, the London FTSE is currently up 94 points. Flags have been fluttering on land and sea as Hong Kong moves closer to the handover anniversary. Fishing boats, taxis, and coaches all played their part in the run-up to July 1st. Chloe Feng reports.
25 fishing boats flying the national and SAR flags sailed along the harbor to mark the 25th anniversary of the handover. They started off from Choi, went past the West Kowloon Cultural District, and came close to Stonecutters Island, before ending the journey in Hong Han via Saiwan, Shangwan, North Point, and Kai Tak. On shore, the Hong Kong Celebration Association arranged for 3 coaches displaying special banners to operate across the city on 6 consecutive days starting today. Taxis too got into the mood, with several decked with banners and flags, plying all 18 districts. Victoria Park is putting on an exhibition devoted to the handover and Hong Kong's history. The Kwun Tong Promenade is also pitching in with 3D works of art. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Onto the weather now. It will be very hot with periods of sun and rain tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 28 and 33 degrees. Expect the rain to increase as we approach the weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Choi. Good evening.